Oh, and it made a. Oh, so it made the bridge so you can get the arrow now, should you so desire.
But you don't want. And what about
Tales of Weird Stuff presents the ultimate GameCube, Legend of Zelda, 4 Swords of Adventure.
No, wait. Get on the get. Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. Sorry, that was way too silly. It's a couple days after my recent live stream and not very many days after posting the video where I modded a pile of GameCube systems. And now I want to talk about what went into making the setup and why I did all those mods and just all the rest of the information that I was purposefully kind of being a little, I don't know, mysterious about. I don't know what the right word. There is a right. Mysterious sounds too cool. In February 2016, like forever ago, I had a giant party to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the original Famicom Disk System release of The Legend of Zelda. It was a big party. I think at that time, because this was before the Switch came out, about a year before the Switch came out, I think I had every system that had The Legend of Zelda on it. I did not have Famicom Disk System Zelda yet. I think that was a couple of years before I got a Famicom twin system that has the disk drive integrated. And then later on after that, I got the Hyrule Adventure on disc. So I had original Nintendo, Game Boy, Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo 64, GameCube, Wii. I had a Wii U, but I don't think I had it set up because I don't think there was a Zelda, because that was before Breath of the Wild, and I don't think there was a bespoke Zelda for that platform. It makes it kind of an outlier in Nintendo platforms. I had everything set up, and so people were playing and enjoying these games. I mean, a lot of the games that I had or that other people brought over, like many people hadn't played before. I think I had a cart version of the Satellaview download Zelda system, the Zelda BS that they did for in Japan for the Super Famicom. A friend of mine brought over. He had some of the Zelda games for CDI, the really good ones. So he brought some of those over. So there's a display of Zelda. Anyway, it was a big thing. But the crown jewel, the piece de resistance for the whole party was I set up this thing to play Zelda 4 Swords Adventure. I had probably I have not yet, at the time I'm recording this, I have not been able to find any pictures that were taken at this party. So I'm just kind of going by memory. I want to say I probably had a 27-inch Sony CRT to run the main game on. And maybe I should do some background on this game. Nintendo had this very clever idea in the GameCube era of how they could sell some more handheld systems. And they came out with this cable so that you could connect a GameCube to a Game Boy Advance. And there were some games where you would get some extra content with that, or you would get some extra help with that. I remember spending a lot of hours playing Wind Waker on the GameCube with my niece. One of us would be playing, and the other one would have the Game Boy Advance. And when you were going around in the boat looking for hidden stuff, it would give you hints about when hidden stuff was nearby on the screen. So we found everything. Between the two of us, we found everything. So there were some games that had things like that. But then they had a genius idea of, well, hey, let's make a multiplayer kind of top-down dungeon crawl game. And in order to play it multiplayer, everyone has to have Game Boy Advances. So the deal is, when you're going to play this game multiplayer, each player has their own cable. They must be purchased separately. Their own Game Boy Advance. And when you go off into certain parts in the dungeon, or you go into side rooms or do other things, you disappear from the main screen. I'm pointing at my big TV that I moved up here for this. You disappear from the main screen and you appear on your little screen. And so you can, do things. And the Game Boy Advance becomes the controller for the whole game. It's a brilliant idea to sell more handheld systems. You gotta hand it to them. Sometime, I think after this game came out, they came out with another enhancement for the GameCube. And this is one of the things that I think makes the GameCube such an amazing platform, is it had a lot of stuff that you could add onto it. There were a lot of other neat things for it. They made another thing called the Game Boy Player, which is this module that straps onto the bottom that has Game Boy Advance hardware in it. It turns it into a Game Boy Advance that you can play on your TV. So I had this idea for this party in 2016. I thought, I've got a bunch of GameCubes. My friends have got a bunch of GameCubes. I have a pile of these Game Boy Player adapters. Why not turn a GameCube into the Game Boy Advance controller for this game? So for that party, I had a 27-inch Sony CRT, and I was actually running a Wii, a backwards compatible Wii in GameCube mode to drive the 27-inch CRT. That's what the game is actually playing on. And then I had 4 GameCubes, at least 1 or 2 of which I had borrowed from people with Game Boy players. Now, at that time, I only had 2 Game Boy Player discs. So it was turn one on, start it up, okay, move the disc over to the next one, and kind of do that sort of nonsense. And then I had, I want to say I had 2 PVMs at the time, and I had 2 Commodore 1084 monitors for the others. Wired controllers. I had 1 real Nintendo RGB cable. This was back when those cables were expensive. I believe it's on this system right here. Let me grab it. I bought it at PRGE, I think in 2015, for the price on it says $139, which is a bargain today. And I had been eyeing it at this booth, and on Sunday there was an announcement over the PA, such and such booth, everything on sale, 20% off. And I ran. So I actually got it for 20% off that, which was awesome, which was a super deal at the time and is an amazing price now. But there were some problems with that setup. The first problem was, even with the RGB cable, the video didn't look very good. The software for Nintendo's software for the Game Boy Player kind of leaves a bit to be desired. And even when you're playing it, if you're using the RGB cable on a non-high def CRT, it wants to run it in 480i, which is not what you want. It didn't. I mean, the colors were crisp and beautiful and all that, but it was flickery, and nobody likes that. So I really wanted to do something so that I could force it to run in 240p. And then the other 3 systems were all, so the PVM, the other PVM was running S-Video and the two 1084s were running composite. So they, of course, didn't look great. I was using wired controllers. So at this big party with everyone kind of taking turns and rotating in and out, every time someone got up and moved around, it was the Gordium knot. Every time someone changed seats or anything, and it was chaos. So I have had this idea since 2016 to do this thing again, but do it turned up to the next level. I want to say turned up to 11. I maybe got to 10.5 this time. So the first thing that I did was I started gradually acquiring Wavebird controllers. So there's no more tangled cable nonsense. I thought I had 4 of them. I have like 6 receivers, but I could only find 3 controllers. So no wires were going to get tangled. So it was fine. It just wasn't what I wanted, but it was fine. Through borrowing from people, I was only able to get 1 additional PVM. At PRGE this last year, I picked up 2 modern RGB cable. They're actually YCBCR cable component video, but the PVMs can handle RGB or component. So I still have 1 Commodore 1084, which is a good monitor. I really thought I had an adapter so that you could connect S-Video to a 1084. Commodore, way back in the day, with the Commodore 64, started shipping computers that had S-Video out, but they did it by splitting it into 2 RCA cables. So you had one that was intensity and the other cable was color. So one was Y and the other was CBCR. So you can build a little adapter to plug an S-Video cable that will break it out into the 2 RCAs. I could have sworn that I had one, but I couldn't find it. So I still had 1 monitor stuck on composite with a wired controller. Whoever was playing it on the end totally got ripped off. They definitely did not have as much fun as the other 3 people. I'm still running it off of a Wii. For the Wii, I bought a special Wii video to HDMI connector. I had a couple old generic $5 ones, and they are crap. This one came highly recommended from Bob over at RetroRGB. So I took a chance and spent I don't even remember how much it was, $30 or shipped or whatever, to get that. My original plan was I have a 32-inch JVC CRT that is heavy, but it has DVI in. The problem I was having with the cheap Wii HDMI adapters is on the DVI input on that TV, 2 of the color components were swapped. The 2 chroma channels were swapped, or something. The color was messed up, and it did not look right. My original plan was to use that. Now that TV is currently in my basement. This filming location is on the 2nd floor. I was not excited about dragging I looked that TV up. It's 155 pounds. I was not excited about dragging it up here, but then I realized I don't have anything up here to put it on, and the thing that it's on down there in the basement is not particularly portable. So I had to change plans. I had to give up my dream of 5 CRTs. So I brought up my main TV. I have a nice LG OLED. So I brought that up here. It has HDMI input, and then my capture device has HDMI. So it was really important to get the Wii on HDMI, and I didn't. So I used the Wii instead of another GameCube just because I didn't want to buy another $60 adapter, and I would rather buy a $30 adapter. And I will continue to use this adapter with the Wii that's connected to that TV down in the basement. I have a couple Wiis. The other thing, so by changing that setup around, the way I had it set up before is the TV was on a very, very sturdy work table that I got at an office supply store. That it's a steel case brand table that I think can handle like 400 pounds on it. So I had a smaller CRT, a 27-inch CRT on it that I had propped up, and then I had the 4 smaller CRTs on it. So we were all sitting very, very close when we were in 2016. We were sitting very close to all the screens. It's not good for your eyes. You'll go blind. So knowing that we were going to be farther apart, I wanted to do something different. So the 2 days before the live stream, I went over to a friend of mine's house, and he and I built the stands. And I had this idea of, well, wouldn't it be cute if the 4 players in the game are different colors? I'll get some spray paint and I'll paint these things to match the colors. That turned out to not only look good. I think these stands look great. They are very functional. The TVs, the monitors sit on them perfectly. They have a little lip in the back to keep them from sliding backwards. They're angled, and the angle is just, I kind of guessed at it, but it's perfect. And then underneath, there's space for the GameCube to hide. And since we were almost all using wireless controllers, there's no wires coming out. So this whole path between the couch and the screens is completely clear. So people could get out to get pizza or beer or use the restroom or whatever. Having the colors turned out to be very, very functional also, because throughout the 6-hour live stream, I can't believe we played that 6 hours. Throughout the 6-hour live stream, we played musical chairs a lot. Like, there was a total of 6 people here, only 4 people playing at a time. So we rotated, right? And took turns playing and did stuff like that. And so each time when you sat down to play, you were probably sitting in front of a different screen. So your character was a different color. And periodically people would be like, wait, what color am I? Oh, I'm the purple guy because I'm sitting in front of the purple box. Or I'm the red guy because I'm sitting in front of the red box. So that little decision of, oh, wouldn't this be aesthetically pleasing, turned out to be super, super functional also. All right, now I'm gonna take a moment. I'm gonna rearrange all these, and I'm gonna go through again more detailed how all of this is wired up. Should you succumb to madness and want to set something up like this, and honestly, I joke about that, but this was so much fun. The total amount of time to set this up, counting, building the boxes, doing all the mods, doing the physical setup. So the mods took me about 4 hours to do all 4 systems. I'm not good at soldering, so it took me longer than it would take someone who actually knew what they were doing. There's a video about this. For that video, I had recorded about 3 hours of footage, and then there was another hour or so of troubleshooting that I didn't record when I had forgotten to bridge 2 solder points, so I kind of went off on some false paths trying to troubleshoot it. It's in the other video if you're interested. So that was about 4 hours. It took us about 2 hours to build these boxes, and then the actual setup of dragging everything up here, hooking everything up, blah, blah, including moving a TV up here and trying to remember how all the cables were routed for that and all that. That was probably another 2 hours. So somewhere between 8 and 10 hours total, like set up and get everything ready for the 6 hours that we played. And I still have all this stuff and we can still do it again. So I feel like the payoff was definitely there. All right, let's look a little bit behind the scenes and see how all this is wired up and connected together. Here's all the chaos that my guests didn't have to see. Well, they did see it because when they got here, I was still setting up. Okay. Now, each system, I'm going to come up a little bit closer. Each system ends up being hidden underneath the little box here. I have, each one is set up with its Wavebird adapter. The version of the Pico Boot mod that I did, I have a GameCube memory card to SD card adapter. Now, a lot of people prefer to do the version where you have a little mini SD card adapter that connects into the bottom. Unfortunately, that connects in right here where the Game Boy player connects. It's like the only disadvantage of that version of the mod is that you can't use the Game Boy player with it. And frankly, I think that that's a pretty big disadvantage. For me, for I think obvious reasons, that was a deal breaker. Now, loaded on this SD card is Swiss and the Game Boy interface software. The Game Boy interface software is way better than Nintendo's software that they supplied for a variety of reasons. The big one for this particular event is it let me pick 240p for these 240p displays. And then each Game Boy player has the special cable connected to it to hook it to, normally it would plug into the controller port of another Game Boy. And there's power. Now this is the one with the original Nintendo RGB cable. Now that cable is a little bit annoying because it doesn't carry sound. So there, you need to have a separate, just analog cable to carry audio. The audio isn't that necessary for this particular game. The main thing that you get out of it is the dinging when you're down to one heart. These are all connected into a Wii, which had the HDMI adapter plugged into the back here. So regular memory cards to save our progress through the Four Swords adventure, and then each one of these cables connected player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4 in sequence to that, and then each system right on down the line is hooked up just exactly the same. When we are playing, these ended up getting tucked underneath, and while it is a mess of cables and madness back here, on the other side, the path is completely clear. The only bit of sort of cable hazard is down here directly in front of and slightly out of frame where the camera is. There were, I want to say, 2 cables that went across the walkway. One was the USB cable for the microphone, and the other was I think I had it set up so that it was the HDMI cable. No, it was the USB cable. I had the capture device kind of tucked in over here. So HDMI out of the Wii, pass through into the TV, and then USB across the walkway to where I have the computer set up. Now, I was using a modern 16:9 screen, and the one regret that I have, that I'm surprised nobody called me out on on the chat, was we were playing in 16:9. And that was just because we were already a half hour behind schedule by the time I got everything set up and running. And I don't play retro games on this because it tends to be pretty laggy on a lot of things. So I just don't. And I couldn't remember where the adjustments were to have it not do that. And I'm actually impressed with how good the upscaling looked on this. I was expecting so I had set the Wii to progressive, so it was outputting 480p. I had expected the upscale, because this is a 4K display. I had expected it to look really bad, and there were some parts where it looked bad, but I wasn't sure if that was, it looks bad because it's GameCube graphics, or it looks bad because it's a TV doing the upscaling. Not sure. I'd have to do side by side. If I were to fully turn this up to 11, I would have another PVM with RGB. I have to say, these modern, I forgot who makes them, these modern RetroBit cables, these were awesome. They worked great. I am super, super happy with how they turned out. I am very glad that I bought 2 of them at PRGE. It was money well spent for this event. So to get it fully turned up to 11, the 4th PVM, the 4th RGB cable, the 4th Wavebird, because this one is just using... and it was a bummer because it's just using composite. It's not even using S-Video, and it's got a wired controller, which was fine for the one on that far end because no one was going to come around this way, so there was no tripping hazard there. And then either replace this with the 32-inch CRT that has DVI, or get an OSSC or something to do better quality upscaling. And I think that was, all that could maybe get turned up on this. I don't know that we needed it. We had such an amazing time, and once everything got hooked up and into place, we had no technical difficulty. Like, the big technical difficulty of the night was when I was setting this up, I couldn't remember the right way to connect up the sound bar. There's a very specific, there's 2 ports on it. You have to connect to the right one. And then there's a specific port on the TV that you have to connect it to, or I couldn't remember how to do that. So I couldn't get the sound bar to come on. That was the big technical difficulty of the night. Other than that, I could not have asked things to turn out better. I could have asked for us to play better, because in 6 hours we got halfway through the game, and we for sure demonstrated a strong lack of skills.
Come on, man! Like an hour to figure out what color.
I was doing so good and it won't jump.
Some with A.
Hey.
Oh, the trapdoor wasn't totally useless. It was actually some force on it. Oh, back in.
Every time.
Nice. It's gonna be you. And then red.
Oh my
then
god.
Blue.
Right on the backside.
Yeah, it says B.
Oh, I bet it's in order.
Purple.
Dang it! I just wasn't facing it. Alright. I mean, I swung at the right time, I just wasn't...
Ow!
Ah!
Fancy backhanded sword.
Hold up here. Who's got the shovel? Yeah, there you go.
No, our last shadow.
Yeah, but every time some dirty, rotten, no good red.
It ran away.
I got nothing.
Nope. Well, we definitely know. How
Okay,
to
well, I'm
get
gonna
fire.
set it down and we'll
Let's
see what happens.
try.
Yeah.
We can get more fire.
Run!
Oh, shit.
Oh, you said all of them anyway. All but one. I'm glad we all waited for Ian. Oh, nice. Get out of the way. Oh, we're all gonna die.
Okay, that doesn't look good. That does not look good.
We all died. Oh! Oh, boy.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a good thing that was going out live on the internet for everyone to see. Starting next week, I'm going to return to predominantly my typical sort of content. I'm going to get back to old computers, and I'm going to try to round out the year. I have a bunch of stuff planned. I have 2 videos already recorded that just need to be edited. They're gonna come out in pretty short order, and then I have a few other things planned. So there's a lot coming up. If you have enjoyed this video, I would really, really appreciate a like. If you are interested in seeing any future video game content, I am going to do some more. I do have a few things planned, but they're not going to come up real soon, I don't think. We'll see. If you're interested in any of that kind of future content, I would strongly encourage you to click the subscribe button. And until next time, try to remember the good stuff.